Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us to today's power session. I'm really looking forward to listening to what Asger's got to share with us today. This is part one of a three-part series, and we're extremely grateful for Asger to give up his time and share his knowledge on all things LinkedIn with us today. I know for one, my LinkedIn profile could do with some updating. Oh, if you haven't already registered for the next two sessions in the series, it's definitely worth doing that. The links to do that are in the resource area, and it's definitely worth joining more than just this one to make sure you get the best value from everything that Asger's sharing with us today. So Asger, to get us started, can you give us a few headlines on what's coming up in today's session?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I definitely can. So today is all about making your profile stand out, look good, and achieve the things you want to achieve on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to take hours. In fact, I think you can do it in a few hours, get a pretty good profile and look great and attract the clients and network with the people you want to do. So yeah, it's a lot how to do it, and you can do it, I know. So after this, if you put in the work, your profile will look amazing.
Oh, that sounds absolutely super. I know the session is going to include some exercises rather than just a presentation as well. What does everybody need to have ready for the session? Do they need to be logged on to LinkedIn, for example?
No, they don't. I mean, there's nothing wrong if you have your LinkedIn profile open, so you can kind of, bounce back and forth. But I would encourage you to pay attention here and then afterwards do the work. But of course, if you're eager to see, did you fall into this trap or one of the traps I might talk about, then feel free to look at it, but rather pay attention here, and then you can do all the work afterwards. Like I said earlier, it's not rocket science. You just kind of need to know how. You need to have somebody show you how to do it, and then just do it. And I'll show you how to do it, so you can get started.
Fantastic, thank you. And as always, there's the box to ask for any questions that you think of while we're going through the session. If you can add these as we go, and then we'll pick up any sessions at the end of the session. So that's enough from me for now, and I'll hand you over to Asger. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. So let's just have the slides come up here. I have a little slide deck that you can get afterwards, which you can use as a to-do checklist. So hopefully it'll come up here. But the very first slide, I called it Get Success on LinkedIn, because everybody is different. Now, what success for me means might not be success for you. So you need to think about what is success for you and what is the purpose of you being on LinkedIn, hopefully also being active and having a good profile. I can just share from my point of view as a business owner and an independent consultant. For me, it is obviously to get clients, but it's also so much more than that. It's also to network with amazing people. I've met so many amazing people in here that I've done a lot of interesting work with. At the moment, I'm actually making an online course with a Dutch comedian where I'm talking about how to get rid of the fear. And he's talking about comedy. So this is a great example of how you can network. And I've met a lot of other amazing people. And a third objective for me really being on LinkedIn is to learn something. So there are only 2 people on so far. Yeah, maybe you want to write in the comments if you are live, if you can hear us. Would be great to know. So, but you need to think about why you want to be active on LinkedIn and have a great profile, because that is as you do the work. So think about your why. There is so many opportunities here. So I don't know if you could put up the slides. We can't see the slides right now. We are having a few technical problems. But anyway, there we go. Get success on LinkedIn. This is what it's all about. For you to get success, get clear on what do you want to achieve on LinkedIn. And as I mentioned, a couple of my objectives. So let me just move on to the next slide. Sarah, you already talked a little bit about it. This is a 3-part webinar series. If you only do the profile, if you only make a great profile, you're not going to reap the benefits from the other 2 webinars. So it's incredibly important you stick with the other webinars, and hopefully you will have enjoyed this session so you know that you're getting a lot of value. But it's kind of like if you make a great profile, it's kind of like if you go into a party, you get all dressed up, you get in a great mood, and all you do is stand in the corner. How many people are you going to meet that night? Probably very, very few people. But if you get yourself set up and in a good mood, looking good, and you network with people and go out and meet them, you're really going to reap the benefits of this. So making you a LinkedIn profile is a little bit of work. And after that, you might not see the big benefits, but they will come as you start putting out good content, as you start to network with people. So stick with me and come for the second and third webinar to really get that synergy going so you can reap the benefits and get the success you want on LinkedIn. So let's get started here. The keys to a great profile. To a great profile. It's not rocket science. You can do this. If you joined the webinar, you showed up today, you can do this. Basically, you just have to click a few buttons, find the right places. If you're familiar with Facebook and you can manage that platform, you can definitely also manage this one. You have to know how to do it, and there are loads of free tips on YouTube, and I will show you some of the things. Obviously, we don't have time to go into exactly which buttons are you going to press every now and then, but I'll show you some of them. So that's the first thing. Know you can do this. It's not complicated. It is similar to making your CV. Not that LinkedIn and CVs are the same, but the analogy is the same. If you can write a good cover letter, you can, of course, make a great profile. Now, the second thing you want to be thinking about is which problems do you solve? You need to have that in the back of your mind all the time. Which problems do you solve and for who? So when they come to your profile, they're like, all right, this guy is solving these problems. And who's it for? So you probably know your niche, so you want to make clear to the people who you are helping. So if you're a financial planner, maybe you have a niche that is a more narrow than just financial planning. Maybe it's for, I don't know, mortgages, helping people start their own company or whatever it is. So that's the second thing. Now, the third thing you want to be doing is, of course, you want to create likability. We like to network and do business with people we like, and you've got to create trust that you can actually solve the problems you say you solve. Now, that being said, you're probably not going to achieve that 100% with your profile, but you do need to have a great profile to start being able to do that. So if you put out content and you network, like we're going to be talking about in the other webinars, you will be able to create likability and trust, but you come a long way with a great profile as well. Right, so here's just a typical gray, boring blend profile that is just half completed. If yours is looking like this, you need to update it in order to really stand out. So I'm just hitting a few of the things in order to not, your microphone is really cutting out as you're speaking. A few people are mentioning this in the Q&A. Could be your headphone. We did test it. If I go closer, is this better? Yeah, let me know. Sarah's nodding, saying yes, this is better. Should I slow down the pace? Okay. So basically, you don't want to have a profile that is like this. So this is boring. It's not going to stand out. And of course, it doesn't look very attractive. So you want to move on. I have my own over here. Not that this necessarily is the best in the world, but hopefully this gives you a different impression. And we'll talk about how you can go from what you just saw to what you are seeing right now. So there's a lot that goes into it, but you can actually, within a fairly short amount of time, get into this. So look does matter a little bit also on a business platform like LinkedIn. So here you can say there's a little bit more to it, a little bit more wow factor, and you want to have that as well. And of course, also create the trust and the value and show what you actually do. So let's look how you can dive into making a better profile. The things you need in order to get 90% really going, you can obviously do more things than this. But first, you got to get a good headshot. You got to have a nice banner, tagline. And we're going to go through all of these things today so you can get set up and have an amazing profile. So I hope you're excited about that, to get that going. And here, just to get a good picture, I've used a website called Photo Feeler just to test how good was the photo. In fact, I asked my wife, and first, there was a certain time I used the photo where I had the orange shirt on because I thought, hey, this looked a little bit more professional, and I thought I was smiling a little bit too much on the left one. But then I went on this website called Photo Feeler, where you can have other people say their opinion on these three you can say things: competent, likable, and influential. And what I discovered was that, in fact, the picture with the orange shirt, I did pretty badly. I wasn't even very likable. I was in the almost lower third. So how it works is you can do it for free or pay a little bit of money, but you essentially just rate other people. So the picture on the left, I got a much better rating. It's a scale from 1 to 10. It's not based on your looks. It's just based on how competent do people feel you are, how likable, and how influential. Now, that might seem a little bit superficial to get this kind of rating on just a picture. But the fact is, we do judge people on how they look. So you do want to check out, do you have a good picture? And it doesn't have to be that complicated to get a good picture. You can do it yourself with a friend or, a partner. So what you want to do is you want to have a white background, well lit, and you probably want to be wearing the clothes you would be wearing for work. And otherwise, you can, of course, also hire a photographer. You can hire a professional one. That obviously costs a little bit of money. But there are also loads of people who love to take pictures that are good at it. And maybe you can do an exchange, a little bit of money and a testimonial. So, yeah, there are lots of options, but do get a good picture and test it out with the photo feeler. Yeah. So another thing you could do in order to really get to stand out a little bit is you can make a ring around it. These are just kind of small things you could do. It doesn't take, again, a long time. You can go to a website called Canva.com, and there are lots of YouTube videos where you can just figure out how to put a ring around it. So basically, all you got to do is just search for ring around photo and LinkedIn, and then you can use the website Canva.com. If you want a link for a video that I've used, and it just took me about 5-10 minutes to do it, and I'm not particularly good at tech, then I'll be happy to share it with you. So do that. You can stand out a little bit. So this is really put in the effort. I know it's a little bit superficial with the picture, but it does make a big difference. And of course, you also want to have a fairly new picture. You don't want to have a 10-year-old picture, but I think up to 3 years is probably fine. If it starts to be more than 5, you want to update it. So you look like you do today. Right. So how do you make a banner? This is the upper part of your profile. This is what people will probably look at first because this takes a lot of attention. So there's a really good chance for you to showcase what you're doing. So I have a thing called the 3-second rule. That means if people come to your profile, they should be able to see the problem you solve within 3 seconds. If they need to spend more time than that, you're probably not communicating it clearly enough. So things you could have on your banner is a picture of you in action. So the majority of my time, I'm helping people become better presenters. So I think it makes sense for me just to show, hey, I'm a speaker. I'm right here speaking. And you can see the audience in the back. And of course, the text is supporting that. I could probably niche down a little bit more, helping emerging speakers, which is probably more my niche. But you do want to stand out and have this because it creates a little bit of social proof, creates some good attention. So really do have that kick-ass banner. Again, you can do it yourself. You can go to Canva and just YouTube it, and then you can do it yourself. I have had a guy help me, and you can go to a website called Fiverr.com. It's called Fiverr.com because it starts with $5, and I've used it for a number of services. Now, that being said, you're only paying $5 for a banner. That means that the quality is not always good, so there's a good chance that you'll have to find a few people and test it and try it. But there are some really good people out there where you can get it for very little money. Otherwise, there's another site called Upwork, which is probably a little bit higher quality. You also pay a little bit more. But for me, it's worked well, actually, to pay for people to do a banner, and then I've just taken the best one. Because, so you figure out what is the best option for you. If you like to play around with it, and you can do the Canva plus the YouTube, and otherwise you can just outsource it and save the time, because this is probably the most complicated part of your LinkedIn profile is to make your banner. So if you're not a tech guy, outsource it, kind of like I did. Right. Let me get the next slide. So we've come to the tagline, which is an incredibly important part. This is the part below your profile name. Here, you, of course, don't just want to share where you work. A lot of people share, hey, I'm working here, and that's it. You want to share which problem you solve as well, because that's actually what people are looking for. What problem are you solving? So I'll put in here public speaker trainer at Oscar Lindholm. So that's why I'm working. Plus, I then share with the problem I'm solving. Learn how to design and deliver impactful presentations. So this is the problem I'm solving. Then I'm also sharing who I'm solving this for, helping emerging speakers and industry experts. And then, of course, I also want to create some credibility. So then I say keynote speaker trainer. That's what I do. Then I have TEDx trainer. TEDx is a big, good brand to be affiliated with. I've been a TEDx trainer 2 times here in Copenhagen. So that kind of, oh, okay, he was affiliated with TEDx. Probably he knows his stuff. And then I have PhD. I haven't done a PhD. So if you have some sort of degree, you can put that in. So ultimately, you want to be thinking about how can you show them the problem you solve and for who, and create some sort of trust. And I've tried to do that here with my tagline. Now, you could also be a little bit more, have a little bit more finesse, and of course, share indirectly how you solve a problem. One of my friends, he has a tagline, which is be more interesting than Netflix. And he's also a speaker trainer. I think that's very catchy, very cool. I wish I had come up with that phrase. But if you see his profile, you understand, oh, really? Be more interesting than Netflix. That's creative, and you indirectly share the problem you solve. So you don't always have to put it in directly, but that is definitely an option to do that. Now, I want to mention another important part of your tagline. That is the very, very first part. I'll show you that in the next slide, how you really, why the first part of your tagline is so incredibly important. So here was to a recent post I made, and a person here, he saw my video. This time it was in Danish. I primarily do it in English, so he happened to watch a little bit of it. And then he made a comment, and I replied. And I, of course, encourage you to reply to every comment that's there. But as you can see, the very first part where I have this red dots around this circle, it says public speaker trainer at Oscar Lindholm. So if somebody came and saw that comment, they would see the very first part only. So that means if somebody comes by and they're interested in public speaking, then, of course, or there's a good chance they're going to press that button. But if I just put something else and they have no idea what I'm doing, the problem I'm solving, there's a good chance they're not going to click on that button. So do really think about the first 5 to 10 words are incredibly important when you're leaving comments. Yes. All right. I hope you're getting some value here. We're going fast paced, and that the sound is good. Yes. Sound is good. Sarah's saying sound is good. Awesome. Yeah. So you also do have a chance to have a sound bite. On your profile here, you can see with the red dot I'll put around, there's an option for you to put in 10 seconds to get creative. So we like to hear the voice of a person. Now, when we hear the voice, we already have some sort of feeling about that person. Again, you might call that a little bit superficial, but it's nice to hear the voice. Of course, you can use it to pronounce your name. If you have an easy name, maybe it's not worth to do it, but my name would be hard for most foreigners to pronounce, or at least they wouldn't know how to do it. So it makes sense for me to say my name, but also to welcome them. Say, thank you very much for stopping by my profile. I hope you leave a comment or connect with me. So do try to get them to a call to action. See if you can connect with them or make them follow you, or, be welcoming. That's really what I'm saying. You don't just have to say your name, which probably was the intention from LinkedIn when they first made this. Yeah. So another thing I often see people don't have or haven't not done completely is the contact information. Sometimes I just want to reach people quickly, and I go to their contact information and they don't have the phone number. Like, what? You need to have your phone number. Of course, you got to have your phone number so I can call you, your email address. You should be, unless you're some sort of celebrity that doesn't want to put out your phone number because you get called all the time, then do by all means put your phone number there, because you want to be easy to get in touch with. You could lose potentially some clients if you don't do that. Now, another thing you want to do with your profile is, if you just made your profile, you probably have a lot of numbers behind your name or your profile, and I've optimized mine. So I've changed the URL So it just says Asker Lindholm in the end. You could put in other things. It could be your company name, what you prefer to do. I've just kept mine pretty clean with my name. So you can use that in your email signature or other places. It's easier to use in that way, and it looks more professional. So update your URL. Lots of information, again, on Google. I could show you how to do it, but just a few clicks, you will see how to do it. It's very easy. So basically, just update your contact information so you're easy to get a reach of. So let's recap a little bit. In order to get the social proof, stand out, and look good, you got to have a photo. If it's your thing, you can put a ring around it. Make a great tagline. You got to have that. Tagline that showcases what problem you solve, for who, and preferably create a little bit of credibility if you can. Have a great looking banner. Outsource it if it's so hard for you to do or if you don't like to do it, and then add in a little bit of soundbite. And then there's another option here. You can have a hashtag in. If there's one thing you talk about in particular, you have that. For me, it's public speaking. So these are the things that's really going to make your upper part look amazing. And this doesn't have to take forever. So I've got a little exercise for you to get started, and you can write that in the chat as well. It'll be amazing to hear. What it says is, it's how do you get a great tagline? You don't necessarily have to use it, what would you come up with, but it helps you get clear on the three things you need, which is the problem, for who you solve it, and what they're going to gain from it. So basically it just says, I help X with Y so they can Z, and I've then made it a little bit longer. I help, you put in your target audience with, and then the problem you solve so they can get a benefit. And I have my example here. I help emerging speakers make better presentations so they can make a bigger impact for their audience and be financially well compensated. So if you have the chance, leave a comment down in the Q&A. It would be amazing to hear what you have found. Yes. Obviously, you could spend hours on this, but you could also spend 30 seconds and have a go at it and see what happens and start getting clear, because the more you work on this, the more clear you're going to get on this. So if anybody's writing there, I help people achieve their financial goals. Very nice, Simon. Simon Dunkley leaving a comment, I help people achieve their financial goals, is a good one. Others, you can work on more than that, but I'm giving you 30 seconds, so I think that's a great first approach. You could probably niche down more in that one. I'm being hard on you, Simon. It's amazing you're putting it out because you have so little time. Let's see if we can get another comment here from someone else. Amazing you're participating. All right. We have Will, helping physicians use their money to live better lives. Wow, there you go. All good approaches to get started, get clear on this. And like I said, this could be something you could spend hours on. In fact, you could spend weeks, months on this. So anyway, get started, do this exercise, and hopefully you'll be more clear on how to make a good tagline. Let's move on. Then there's a part called the featured section. Featured section is just below kind of the upper part we've seen. So probably you want to showcase some of your good work. If you've made a good post that did fairly well, or a post that happens to really show what you're doing. Maybe you're not always putting out content that is directly for your ideal client. Sometimes it could be a little bit broader maybe, but I think you should put out some content there that really shows this is for my ideal client, so they get a good feeling. So think about your featured section. This is a good option to really make people that just scroll through your profiles see what you're doing and how you can help them. So this is your featured section. Update this one for sure. You could also have testimonials there. Video testimonials is a great way also to show that you're doing well. So that is definitely an option to put that in there. So let's dive into the parts that are going to take you a little bit longer, but are also important when people are looking at your profile. the about section. One of the biggest problems I see with the about section is people are not really clear about who are they communicating to. Who is this about? People tend to think the about section is about themselves. And of course, that is to some degree true. But in fact, it's not about you. It is about somebody else. And hopefully you have realized who this is. Let's look on the next slide. So the about section is not about you. It's about how you can help your target audience. So you got to make that very, very clear, how you help them. So you could have your methodologies. Maybe you have found your own little way to do it. You could also share some personal failures you've made along the journey in order to help your clients. You probably made some failures. This can create likability. It can create trust. You become an expert by failing sometimes. But of course, you also want to show that you have achieved some great results. And hopefully, with your text, you can provide some sort of new perspective so they see, hey, this person is different. They have a new look at things. So you're not just one of 100 financial planners or one of 100 physicians. Maybe you have a unique methodology. It doesn't have to be totally different. Just that you do things slightly different could be a big benefit. So make sure that when you're writing this, think about your audience. Would they benefit from this? I know it sounds logical, but you'll see people who have taken degrees, 5-year master degrees within communication, not doing this, writing solely about themselves. And then we, as the reader, have to figure out, how can I then use this? You don't want to be doing that. You want to be writing it so it's very clear how you can help them. So here's just a typical boring text. I've just taken out a few things without the target audience in mind. So it could be, I'm passionate about. Yeah, that might seem like a great thing, but if all you do is talk about yourself, then it doesn't really have the value. But if we can feel your passion for helping your audience, that's way better. Or you share you have loads of work experience. Yeah, sure, that's great. But how does that benefit me? Or another third part is a lot about buzzwords. But how can we know that you're good at keeping deadlines? How can we know that you're creative? Well, if you're creative, make a creative profile. Are you a good communicator? Make a profile that stands out, that clearly communicates what you're doing. Show it. That's way better. But it's also way, way harder. So think about your audience and avoid the common traps of just talking about you, but making it about them. So when you're sharing your personal story, I think you should do that in your about section. And first and foremost, you want to have a hook when you start, something that gets the reader interested to read more. It's like a good story. What makes people stick around and read more? So you need to be thinking about this as a journey. Your potential client or the person you want to network with is standing right there, and he wants to get over that mountain. So if you can leave a hook that might get him interested, wow, maybe there's a chance I can actually get over that. And then you share some struggles that maybe you've had in order to really become the expert you are today. And then your journey, and of course your transformation. And then in the end, because you've done all these things, you've become an expert. And then you, of course, want to have call to action in the end so they can reach out to you. The value comes when you start connecting with people, talking to them. So just follow like a story format. I will show you a little bit of my profile so you can see how I've done it. Of course, there are other ways as well to do it. So here's an about section. You can just read it. I'll give you 20 seconds to read it. So yeah, hopefully you can see that there's some sort of hook there. Probably a lot of people know how dreadful and boring business presentations can be. So then if they read this, my intention was, whoa, let me read more. How is this person solving this problem? Why is he the guy to do it? And then I've just written down a few of the things I've done. And then later also further down, I've written, like, I used to be very fearful of public speaking. and then I've shared how I overcame it. So do have a hook, something, it could be through a question, a new statistics, or whatever it is that gets them hooked, captivated. And yeah, this is really going to make you stand out. Recommendations. Recommendations is in the very bottom of your profile, but they can provide so much value for you. If you have other people say you are amazing, of course, this counts way more than you doing it. So get as many testimonials as possible because they speak for themselves. So here's just one I've gotten when I worked with the UNUPS CEO that had 10,000 people below her, and I was working with her speechwriter to do a speech at the TEDx. So you want to reach out, and don't be afraid to reach out because people are not going to give it by themselves. As you can see, I've written down a couple of bullet points that you could do in order to get them. Get in touch with the previous clients you've had. Have you had some big, important clients? I think it's fair enough that they give you a recommendation. It's not going to take them very long. If you work closely with some colleagues, you can do that. And of course, managers, people above you, the more credibility they have, the better. So do get this and get in touch with them. Just ask them. You're probably going to experience that it's going to take a while for some people to get back to you. Then you just kind of follow up politely after a while. And you can also even suggest that you write it for them or give a suggestion for it. So yeah, just have to be 3 or 4 lines. People just need to see, oh, you got that testimonial. It's not always that important what it says, but just the fact that you do have a testimonial is going to give you a lot of credibility. All right, and we have Debbie who also left a comment. I help people put protection plans in place to help secure their finances in the event of any of life's unexpected events happening. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you very much. Awesome. Let's move on from recommendations here. So basically how you do it is just scroll down to your profile and then you just press the button, ask for recommendation. Very simple. They will get an email and then you can do it. And as you can see here, I've gotten 52 received recommendations. So I think that speaks also some volume that you do have some. So see if you can go above 5. If you get 10, that's really great. So these are just some clients I've been working with. And yeah, hopefully that's going to create a lot of credibility. So yeah, you gotta go out there for them. And then there's a section called experience and education. So this is probably the part that is closer to your normal cover letter. So you gotta, again, focus on what is important to your target audience. So think about what are they looking for, what is their problem, and what are the results you have created. You probably don't want to make it very, very long, but let's say you also change your career. I used to be an engineer. Then I would probably focus on the things that are related to communication throughout my education, throughout the work. I also had 4 years as a consultant in the oil and gas industry while I was working as an engineer before I changed to become someone that helps other people become better presenters. So there I could emphasize the things I've learned as a consultant with presentations, facilitating workshops, and so forth. So make it short, precise, again, keeping focus on your audience, the problems you worked on, and the results you created. This is what you want to be doing. And yeah, you can't see the emojis here, but I put in a few emojis here. So you want to be thinking about if you want to have some emojis, I think you could do that. No matter how conservative the business is, it is not, LinkedIn is not like a cover letter. I think there's a little bit more room for creativity and be a little bit more spontaneous and artistic. So you can put in emojis around in your profile. There are certainly some emojis that are, you can say, more controversial and there's some that are more conservative. So you want to match it to the situation you're in, also your personality. And you can also use capital letters if you want to have certain parts of your profile stand out. And if you want to make a bold text, change the font. You cannot do that inside of LinkedIn, but you can use this website called Yay Text. So basically what you do in Yay Text, you just write what you want to write, and then you pick out the format and you just click that and you just copy paste it into your profile. and it will look like like you want it on your profile. So some options really to, again, stand out a little bit, use some emojis, have some bold text and capital letters. But of course, you want to make it fit your business and your personality. Then finally, we have something called skills and endorsements, something I've never paid a lot of attention to. I've had it, I put in my skills, but when I was reading about this, what I read, and also from LinkedIn, is that there are actually a lot of people that when they search for people, your skills are ranked pretty highly on what's called the search engine optimization. So let's say you put in a skill like me, public speaking. If I didn't have that under my skills and endorsement, I would rank much lower when people search for that. So there is some sort of importance in this. Of course, it can also show other people what your skills are if they go down there and look. I happen not to use it very much when I'm looking at other people's profile. But in order to rank well, you probably want to have that. And then you pick your top 3 skills. And again, if you want to rank higher, you want to have the endorsements. And how you can do it is you can give endorsements to people. And there's a good chance they're going to give it back to you as well. But of course, you should be okay if you give one and they're not giving one back. But think about also optimizing that part of your profile so you can get found when people are searching for a particular thing. Yeah, and the last slide I have before we kind of wrap up things is the search engine optimization. It's not exactly like Google, where you can go to Keywords Planner and find exactly how many people are searching for each word. But again, we know, or at least what I've read, is that there are people searching for, it does go into an engine that's optimized. So you do need to find the words you think people are looking for. So you could go to Google Keywords Planner and see what are the buzzwords that people are looking for. Of course, it's a different platform, so it's probably not going to be exactly the same. You can also go to skills and endorsement, and there you can see what LinkedIn, will write. If you write a certain word, they will give some sort of recommendation. So you can get an idea of what people are looking for. But of course, you want to put in the things you want to be found for. So you can see here in my profile, I have speaker a lot of times, public speaker, learn how to design presentations, helping emerging speakers. And I have keynote speaker, TEDx speaker. So I have a lot of times the word speaker. So if people look for speaker, there's a good chance I'm going to rank pretty high. So you can have that. And I think this is probably where LinkedIn is getting the highest impact on the words. And then there are other places that are also ranked highly, like we saw in the skills and endorsement. But you can also place these words in your about section and throughout your profile. Yes, we have just a little bit of time left before the Q&A. My other point is check out other people's profile. This is a great guy I know, Alex B. Sheridan. You can see his banner is probably a little bit more pimped up than mine. So do check out other people's profile and find the ones in your industry that you can use. I wouldn't say copy, but get inspired by them. So just to recap, if your profile is looking like on the left and you want it to look more like on the right, which is mine, well, all you got to do is these 10 things we went through. So this is the question you got to ask yourself. What do you need to change in your profile? Yes, we have come to the questions and answers.
Super. Thank you very, very much, Asger. That was really, really interesting. I've written 2 pages of notes of things that I need to do and change on my LinkedIn profile. And I thought it was a good time to just recap. The slides will be available and the presentation on the PFS Power website later on today. So if you haven't made notes and there's bits you want to look back into, obviously go onto the website and take a look at it. If you have got any questions you wanting to ask Asger, now is your chance. Pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom and we'll do our best to get through the questions. If we can just start off with the first question for people that have been watching today. If they've restricted for time and there's one thing they can take away, or they can only change one thing on their LinkedIn profile to get them started, is there a particular thing that you would recommend they change?
I assume most people will have a photo up on their profile. Let's assume they have that. I'll probably change the tagline, because this is where you really get to see what people are doing. So change that tagline below, just below your name. Work on that. That's important.
And with the tagline, we saw some really good ones that people had put up there. Are you restricted with the number of characters, or is there a set number of characters that you would suggest people use?
There is a restriction. I think it's 220 letters, and you want to be using all the space, of course, because then you can share more about what you do, the problems you solve, and so forth. So use all the letters, and it does have a restriction.
And at the end of your tagline, I noticed you've got the talks about hashtag public speaking. Is it just one tagline that one hashtag that you're allowed to use on there? Or?
I think there was just one when I put it in there, but I can follow up on that. But it also stands out a little bit more if you have 10, right? It's like, okay, you're doing 10. I'm not saying 1 is the optimal number. If you can't put more, maybe you could do 3. But I say more than 3, it kind of dilutes the value of each word. So I'd say stick with 1 to 3, even if there's an option to do more than 1.
Yeah, super. And then just a question about the banner. On LinkedIn, some people have a company-wide banner. So there's one that's obviously been designed for the business, and everybody uses that banner that works for that firm consistently. Is that something you would recommend, or do you think you're better off making yourself stand out with what you do?
I think people should look at their own individual situation. If you're in a company and the agreement is you put on the company banner, of course you put out that one. So maybe you want to be affiliated with the company, maybe you don't. So I think it's up to each person to do that. So I couldn't say what's ideal for every person. But of course, if you're a small team and hopefully you're working passionately with the company, I think that would make sense to do it. If you're in a large corporate company where you're thinking, I'm just going to be here for, I don't know, 3 years and then move on for some other important projects, it might not be the right thing for you if you also want to be found by other people and say, hey, you know what, if there's a great offer for another position, or, you know, it might be right for them not to put it.
Yeah, no, fantastic. We've got a question as well, which I know you're going to cover in your next 2 sessions anyway, because the next session, session 2, is talking about content creation and conversations and things. But the question was, I want to be active, but don't know how to use social media. Do you have any quick tips to get somebody started till the next session?
Definitely. You know, what I've done, because I make a lot of videos, I found help on Fiverr.com, where other people teach you stuff, and you can do that fairly cheap. I found somebody really amazing sitting in Egypt. I paid $10 and she was telling me everything I needed to do with the editing. So I spent 3 hours with her, $30, and I'm not going to be a professional editor from that, but it got me going. And I'm sure you can find other people that can help you and sit with you and teach you what to do, have your screen recorded. I did that because then I could go back, because sometimes that session I did with editing was a little bit too fast when I just read it. So do that. Find somebody that can teach you, record the screen, and go home and do it by yourself.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. And I suppose just talking about the videos very briefly, I know you mentioned you've got some videos embedded into sort of like the top section of your website. I think it was the featured section. With the videos, again, is there a certain length of video that LinkedIn will let you put on there, but there's also optimal so you don't lose people because it's too long?
Yeah, LinkedIn makes you only make a 10-minute video, but you don't want to make a 10-minute video. It's too long. People that go on LinkedIn want to see short videos. So I'd say when you're just starting, do 30 seconds to 2 minutes. You can also do less than 30 seconds, but in order to provide some sort of value, you maybe want to go to 30 seconds. So between 30 seconds to 2 minutes. If you want to go longer, I've gone live a lot of times. You know, then you can go an hour, but that's different because you can interact along. So, but when you get started, make it easy for yourself. Make a short little video with maybe one tip that provides some value.
And any tips for anybody watching with any particular video editing software that you found useful, etc., to get them started?
When I started, I basically just used my phone. I didn't edit it at all. If you're a bad editor and you don't want to get into that, then just take your phone, press it, and just get going right away, and just stop fairly quickly. Then you have your video. That's what I did for a year or two. Now I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro because I happen to get it for free. You don't want to start with that one. It's a professional software to edit, and I'm not using any of the features of just cutting it more or less. Also for my online courses. But there are other more simple softwares, but I wouldn't know which one to recommend. But otherwise, I know you can also do it on your phone. If you have KineMaster, you have heard good things about that. Not that I've personally used it, but it's pretty low budget as well. Something like $30 a year, and you can do the editing on your phone. And probably most people don't have to do heavy editing. Just maybe jump cut in the beginning and the end. Maybe if you have a little bit in the middle you want to cut out. Yeah. So KineMaster, Kine, and then master. I've not used it, but I've heard good things about it.
Super. Thank you very much. That's brought us to the end of the questions. So thank you very much for going through those with us, Asger. Just to recap for everybody, the second webinar is on Friday, the 19th of November at 10 a.m. in the morning again. So make sure you sign up for that, because I'm sure there's going to be some more excellent tips for you to get you started with actually using LinkedIn and making content and being able to sort of like get that shared out there to the right audience. Anything else from yourself this afternoon? This morning, Asger?
Well, no. I mean, I would love to people connect with me. You can connect and follow me. Of course, you're welcome to connect with me. And if you want to go head up to my website, you're welcome to do that as well. Join my newsletter for free resources. I just want to provide a lot of value to people. That's why I'm here. Otherwise, just thank you a lot for all the questions. Thank you to you, Sarah, for facilitating this, and also Taylor and Carrie behind the scenes. So thank you to everybody for doing this.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day, and we'll hopefully see you on the 19th. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.